Have you ever been watching the news, during a big political scandal and felt like you needed a translator just to keep up? Well, you're definitely not alone. So today, we're going to decode the specific language of a political crisis. By the end of this, you'll understand all the key terms that define how power is challenged, how it's defended, and ultimately, how it's held accountable.
All right, we've broken this down into 5 parts, kind of like the 5 acts of a political drama. First, we'll look at the system that's supposed to keep everything in balance. Then we dive into what happens when that first accusation drops. After that, it's the battle in the court of public opinion, followed by the actual search for the truth. And finally, we'll see how it all ends with the political reckoning.
So before we can even talk about a system in crisis, we have to understand how it's designed to work when everything's going right. This first part is all about that foundation.
At the very heart of a democracy is this idea of checks and balances. The best way to think about it is like this. A check is the power one part of the government has to, check another. And the balance is the goal. You want to keep power evenly spread out. It's a design, really, to prevent any one person or group from getting way too powerful. So in the U.S. system, for instance, you've got 3 co-equal branches. And that word co-equal is just so important. It means they're all supposed to be on the same level. You have the executive branch, that's the president's office. Then there's the legislative branch, which is Congress. And finally, the judiciary, the Supreme Court. Each one is basically designed to keep an eye on the other 2. So that's the ideal, right? That's the blueprint. But what happens when that balance is threatened? Well, that brings us to Section 2, the first accusation. This is the spark that can set off a massive political firestorm. A lot of times, the whole thing kicks off with a whistleblower. And the name is perfect. Think of a referee blowing a whistle to stop foul play in a soccer game. That's exactly what this person is doing. They've seen something wrong firsthand, and they report it, usually anonymously to protect themselves, to let everyone know that a major rule has been broken.
Now, what that whistleblower makes is called an allegation, and this is a really key legal term. It's just an accusation. It hasn't been proven. This is exactly why you always hear reporters on the news use the phrase, the alleged crime. It's because in a democracy, everyone is considered innocent until they are proven guilty. And the second that allegation is made, another fundamental right kicks in, due process. This is what guarantees anyone who's been accused a fair and legal process to defend themselves. It's the system's built-in safeguard to make sure that an accusation, by itself, is never enough to convict someone. But, the legal court isn't the only one that matters. We now enter what's called the court of public opinion. And in this arena, the battle isn't just about facts. It's about perception, it's about the story, and it's about winning over the hearts and minds of the people. In this public battle, politicians are worried about 2 very different groups. On one hand, you have the vocal minority. These are the loud activists you always see on TV. But the group they are truly afraid of is the silent majority. These are the millions of voters who don't go to protests, they don't shout online, but their real opinion is revealed, powerfully and quietly, on Election Day. And hiding inside that silent majority are the real prize, the most sought-after people in any political crisis, the swing voters. These are folks without a fixed loyalty to one party. They can be persuaded. And honestly, the entire public relations war during a scandal is often fought just to win them over. So how do they try to win these people over? Well, a key tactic is to manipulate the situation. This just means shaping the public story, the narrative, to make their side look good. It's all about controlling what you see, what you hear, and hopefully what you believe. A classic manipulation tactic you'll hear all the time is for the accused to claim the whole thing is a witch hunt. A politician will use this phrase to paint themselves as an innocent victim. They'll argue that their opponents are just desperately digging for a crime that doesn't even exist simply because they don't like them.
When you boil it all down, everything a politician says and does during a crisis is about avoiding one single thing: political suicide. This is any move or statement that makes their own voters, especially that silent majority, so angry that their career is just over. Keeping their base happy is the absolute key to political survival.
Okay, so while that public battle for perception is raging, a totally different kind of fight is happening behind the scenes. And that brings us to Section 4, the official, legal search for the truth and the vocabulary that comes with it.
To get the facts, investigators have a very powerful tool called a subpoena. Now, this is not a request, it's a legal order. It forces a person to show up and testify or to hand over documents and evidence, and if you ignore it, there are very serious consequences.
So what if someone tries to fight back, by hiding documents or telling witnesses not to talk? Well, that is a whole separate, serious crime called obstruction of justice. Sometimes trying to stop the investigation can get you in just as much trouble as whatever you were accused of in the first place.
And once you've sworn an oath to tell the truth, another major crime comes into play: perjury. Lying to investigators is not just a bad idea, it's a felony that can absolutely lead to jail time. The search for truth has very, very sharp teeth.
And then you have the most serious charge of them all: treason. This is the ultimate betrayal, the crime of working against your own country, like giving away top secrets to an enemy. It is considered the gravest offense a public official can possibly commit.
Through all of this, through the subpoenas, the testimony, the hunt for evidence, investigators are really looking for one thing: the moment that changes everything. The climax of their search can be summed up in this one powerful phrase: the smoking gun.
The smoking gun is that one piece of hard, undeniable evidence that proves guilt beyond any reasonable doubt. It's the aha moment. It's the secret audio recording, the signed document, the leaked email that makes the case impossible to deny and leaves the accused with absolutely nowhere left to hide.
So what happens when the investigation is over and maybe they've found that smoking gun? We've arrived at our final act: the political reckoning. This is the ultimate constitutional process for holding a high-ranking official to account. And that final step is the impeachment process. It is so important to understand this. Impeachment is not a single event, it's a trial. First, Congress brings formal charges, kind of like an indictment. Then an actual trial is held in the Senate, where the official gets their right to due process. And only after all of that does the Senate vote on whether to convict and remove that person from their office. So there you have it. We've decoded the vocabulary, from the checks and balances that are supposed to prevent a crisis, all the way to the impeachment process designed to resolve one. We know the terms, we know the rules of the game, but I'll just leave you with this question. Does knowing all the rules really guarantee the game is played fairly?